Hey, hello there, everybody. This is E.G. Waitley, and I am hunting rabbits. Just kidding. I gave you guys an opportunity to pick the next video I react to, and I said I could either talk about Sniper Wolf vs. Jax films in that chaotic situation. I could talk about nothing and leave YouTube altogether because you all hate me, or I could react to another Jubilee. You guys overwhelmingly voted that you wanted me to talk about Jubilee, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do another episode of Jubilee reactions by yours truly. Now, I chose to do white liberals versus conservative blacks because I think that was a very interesting video indeed. This is gonna get a little touchy because I am a white man, obviously, given my complexion, so I don't want to cross any lines, if you know what I'm saying. Is it getting hot in here, or is it just me? Anyway, alright, here we go. Jubilee, middle ground, black conservatives versus white liberals. I know Destiny's in this one. I actually like Destiny. He's one of those level-headed liberals I talk about. Let's get to go in. So, of course, we'll hear the prompt. I'll give my reaction to the prompt, and then we'll hear them talk, and I'll interject where I see fit. And not a moment sooner.
White Americans have way more advantages than black Americans.
White Americans have way more advantages than black Americans. I'm going to go with nay, sir. Nay. Especially when you put the way more advantages than black Americans. I can't think of anything that I can do that a black person can't do. Although I can think of a bunch of things that black people could do that I can't do, like dunk basketballs. I mean, I'm sure that not every brother can dunk a basketball. I know for me, unless I'm like 7, 8, most white men can't dunk. White men can't dunk. You hear that, Woody Harrelson? You were right this whole time.
Really listen to me.
What?
White men can't jump.
I also feel like this whole white privilege thing is like a little bit blown out of proportion. Did we have it like before? Hells to the yeah. Obviously, people own slaves, and white people tended to get the first dibs on stuff. But if you ask me today, in 2023, I have to say that white Americans do not have way more advantages than black Americans, and that's my final story. Let's see what they say.
Do white Americans have more advantages because they're white, or do just white Americans have advantages because of historic factors? I think that people want to argue at the end of the day over whether it's because you're white or not. I think that the answer is because you're white in the past, and that's how it kind of carries over to today.
Well, it's like such a Destiny answer. He's always got to start it off with another question. Well, he also wants to point out what he's commenting on. He likes to break down very monotonous details. Like, he doesn't want to suggest that he's commenting on a whole, so he is just straight up doing his Destiny thing and giving a very detailed yet not so detailed answer at the same time. Let's see what everybody else has to say, shall we?
You know, even in times of the United States history where black people tried to build wealth, you know, with the Tulsa riots and everything, where, yeah, that this wealth has been destroyed. And something that's upsetting to me is when conservatives talk about how we can't blame the past for what's happening in the present. That is true to some extent, but then the next breath they'll talk about how important it is to have dual-parent households, how important it is to have a strong family, to have responsibility passed on from parent to child. And we've seen in the past that because of racial issues, that process has been severely disrupted.
The funny thing is that agreeing with all these things is when I did my research when I was younger, which arrived me to my standpoint of being a conservative, because I believe racist, Democrat, liberal ideologies and policies dating all the way back to the 1800s, all the way up to the 1960s.
Very true. Actually, Democrats create more racist policies than anybody. Think about it. Democrats actually do have way more racist policies when you think about affirmative action. Affirmative action was designed specifically for minorities, so that is why, in my opinion, it's considered racist. If you put my daughter up next to someone who's a different color than her, that other person has a much better chance of getting into college. That is exactly why the Supreme Court got rid of affirmative action, because by its very nature, it's racist. And if we are to get rid of racist ideas altogether, then we need to get rid of affirmative action along with that.
The purported big switch, but I think it was more so when Democrats decided to be a bit more cloak and dagger about their true opinions of black people and be more secretive.
This kid's
more,
very sharp.
Oh, we want to help you by doing these things and seeing them as
Doing
inferior.
what things?
Oh, here we go. Alec, dude, this guy is going to get on your damn nerves by the end of this thing. I watched this thing when it first came out a while back. I don't remember everything, and I definitely have not given my opinions on it, so don't worry. It's not going to ruin anything. I I didn't prepare for this. These are my general reactions to watching this with you. However, I do remember that this guy is a total douche. Now, to answer Alex's questions like what sort of things, welfare and food stamps and WIC, even though they're so-called designed to help out people, they're also breeding behavior of people depending on the government, which I think in the long run really can destroy community because people tend to rest back on their laurels and stuff. Joe Rogan had a great example of this. He said that he thought that everybody should have like a income each month to make sure that they are able to chase their dreams and stuff. But after COVID and seeing that everybody just pretty much quit work and then never went back to work and just lived off of that money they were getting from the government the whole time, it actually ended up showing him that if you give a person a choice between chasing their dreams or sitting on their butt, a lot of times they end up wanting to just sit on their butt the whole time. So it's nice that we have this idea of wanting to see the good in people, but in reality, it just doesn't really ever pay off that way.
Affirmative action, welfare, all sorts of things that eventually ruin our culture and place us where we are now.
So
but I want to get.
First off, I don't trust Alec because he has a Hunter Biden 2024 hat, which is obviously a hat that he wore just to be provocative, but also at the same time makes him an idiot because Hunter Biden's a crackhead. Are you trying to say you want a crackhead in office?
Get back to the history of it because we're talking about...
Well, I just want to make sure we're clear. Giving them money hurt them, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes, giving them, because if your father's out of the home, that's when we give you them.
You think giving money to someone will help them, but in reality, you know, it also makes them dependent. That's why as you raise your kid, you try to give them a little more independence so that they can learn how to be themselves. Any kid that's like homeschooled and then goes off to college is going to have a much more disadvantage trying to acclimate to life outside of their household than a kid who got to come and go as they please as an adult. Also, you're also going to learn to hate Alec because he lectures black people on how they should feel the whole time. And honestly, it just gets really bad. It gets really bad.
Money. If you're living in this housing,
so then give them the money while the dad's
rent-free.
Well, then give them the money while the dad's in the home.
If you're working this amount of hours and getting less than this amount of dollars, you're getting money from the government. Yes, it is incentivizing.
You're throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
I don't even know what that.
Yeah, I'm with Chandler here. Throwing the baby out with the bathwater doesn't really... I don't see how that really sticks. Like, it seems like this guy was just like, oh, you know what sound really great here to say? Or you're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. That should make me sound really smart. Let's see what he says to come back. I love Chandler's reaction.
That means in this scenario, because yes.
You're
okay, you want to talk about throwing babies out with the bathwater? Margaret Sanger wanted to exterminate the black race because she thought they were weeds.
So
yeah, we can literally talk about throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Get over there, punch him in the face, Chandler.
I don't know what we're yelling about!
That's what Margaret Sanger, that's what Democrat policies wanted to do.
I'm just kidding. I don't support violence of any kind. I'm actually a anti-violence kind of guy.
Loud noises!
I always turn the other cheek, and it might be my right butt cheek, but I always turn it. You can guarantee that.
To my people. So that's why I feel so strongly about it, because it is these policies that date back centuries that were built off of the death and poverty of my people.
Let's take a breath. So,
don't you tell him to take a breath, Alec. Actually, that's probably a good move. Like, yeah, let's calm down. Although Chandler's clearly very passionate about it, and I love his passion. Yay, Chandler.
I'm breathing.
Okay.
So a lot of babies aren't, but I am, sadly.
Oh, with the diss, man. He's like, abortion ain't funny. Sucker.
I don't know what that...
Oh, Alec's going to play stupid. He knows exactly what he's talking about. I'm pretty sure an abortion's a pretty hot button topic.
When I say throw the baby out with the bathwater, you want to completely get rid of welfare, okay? Or at least I don't want to put that on you. You haven't said that, but the conservative apparatus does.
I don't think that's true. I will say I will give Alec one prop here. What he said does kind of make sense. You shouldn't have to be a single mother to receive welfare. I don't know if that's true or not, but it sounds good. So I'm going to go with it. And you can't stop me because it's my video.
Clearly. So giving money to a group of people does not hurt them.
I would beg to differ, sir. Look what happened to Israel when we gave Hamas all that. Burn. That is a political joke. But yeah, if you give a baby deer a lot of food, then it's not going to know how to take care of itself. Like, don't pick up animals that you're not sure if the mother's around or not. Because clearly, if the creature, let's say in this instance, a deer, doesn't know how to find its own food, then it's just going to die. That's why you can't send domesticated animals back out into the wild, because they become so reliant on the people who bring them food to them that They wouldn't even know how to hunt for food if they went out into the wild. So yeah, it's a much more insidious reason why giving people money over long periods of time hurts them in the long run. I feel like I'm at my best actually when I am desperate, I guess would be for lack of a better word, because that's when, you know, they say necessity is the mother of invention, and I think that's absolutely true. Think about all the NFL players right now. I bet you that most of them came from homes that didn't have a lot of money, and that's what helped influence them to become a better athlete, because they didn't want to live like that no more. A lot of rappers will tell you that they strived hard to become a rapper to support their family because it was hard for them growing up. So think about all the music we wouldn't have, all the amazing athletes that wouldn't be as athletic and evolutionary as they are if we were just constantly giving money out. But my question to Alec would be, where's all this money going to come from? Are you just going to start taking all the money from people and giving it to the poor? You know, because you know who gets screwed in that situation? The middle class. When the middle class does well, so does poverty, and so does people who are rich. Everybody benefits when the middle class is doing well. Something to think about.
I mean, sure, if you're talking about a lottery, you just take money. But
yes.
there are strings attached to that money.
Take all the money.
There are strings attached to that money.
Give them millions. Make them all millionaires. I don't care.
You know what happens if everybody becomes a millionaire? I hate this. I really do. Inflation, like the dollar becomes basically worthless if everybody's a millionaire. Just think about it. Like $15 an hour a couple years ago used to be a pretty decent income. Now, since they moved the minimum wage up, all they're going to do, because classes don't move with the money. You can give everybody $1 million, but guess what? The guy who only has $1 million is going to be much less off than the guy with like $30 billion. So, Alec, this makes absolutely no sense. You're just going to give out millions of dollars. And also, where's that going to come from? It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. You lose, sir. We are all now stupider for having listened to you.
Giving money to black people does not hurt them.
And that has not happened, though. That has not happened.
What do you mean?
That has not happened.
It
hasn't been a reparations. It hasn't been this or that. It has been a welfare program, Great Societies Act.
Loud noises!
That was built off of the idea of, hey, we get these families split up. We get these
so then let them keep the family together and keep all the money.
I mean, I guess so, but I guarantee you.
I guess so. Why would you not advocate for that?
So in your, I guess, research of.
They probably just went back and forth for 20 minutes, so they just cut ahead, which is probably a good idea because honestly, Alec was just making no sense whatsoever. You know, give everybody millions of dollars. Are you gonna, Alec? Why don't you just give up your house then? You know, give up your house to a black family if you care so much. That's what I say. This kid wants black folks to be able to gather trades knowledge and to grow and to learn how to do things appropriately, just like white folks did over the years.
The downstream effects of slavery, do you think put black people as generally in a worse off position than white Americans?
I think.
So his question was, do you think downwind effects of slavery put black Americans in a worse situation than white Americans? And I would say obviously yes. But do I think that is still something that is existing today? No. It's 2023, right? Look at the NFL. Look at the NBA. What color is that sports predominantly made up of? It's made up of African Americans. You don't think that has an effect too? You know, baseball, it's pretty evident that the brothers and even the sisters tend to be more athletic. The reality of the situation is that probably through the 60s and the 80s and maybe even the early 90s, black communities were probably affected by slavery. They were probably feeling those ripple effects. If you ask me today, still feeling the effects of slavery, I would have to say no. All right. It's just too big of a gap. I mean, think about where we've come in 100 years, right? Again, and I'm going to lead on this argument a lot. There's nothing that I can do that a black man in my situation cannot do.
I think generation by generation, the effects of slavery have been diluted,
well,
but generation by generation, the effects of racism, welfare-based policies, and things of that nature became even more great. So in the 1880s or so, when we had our first black members of Congress, which were indeed Republicans, I think that was a great start for things. But obviously, we had terrible things that happened, like the Tulsa Massacre, among black.
Tulsa Massacre was terrible, and I feel like that set the black community back. And I think that's actually one of the worst things in our history, the Tulsa Massacre.
People being chased out of their homes by the KKK.
Sure.
All funded by the Democrat Party, all supported by the Democrat Party.
Well, I need to stop you there.
I'm going to need to stop you there, right? First off, you're making me look bad. All right? I don't like people making me look bad. Look, even Destiny's not one that can hold his breath when he has an argument. So if Destiny didn't agree with what Chandler was saying, he definitely would have interrupted. I just want to put it out there, folks. All right. You can believe whatever you want on MSNBC, CNN. Conservatives are not racist people. All right. If anything, they believe in the black community more than anybody else because they are like, these people are very capable people. They can find a way to succeed. Democrats are like, oh, you know, they need my money because they're so helpless. That point drives me insane. All right. Guarantee you that most black folks are smarter than a lot of liberals give them credit for.
So personally, I feel like there's really only one thing that white people have a true advantage over black people with, and it's that white people are less likely to be forced into a box. It happens with black people onto other black people, but it especially happens with white liberals onto black conservatives, where we are told that we are supposed to think a certain way, be a certain way, and if we're not, then we're called all these names like etc. And the worst of all is bootlicker, because I hate when a white liberal tells me as a black man that I'm a bootlicker, because then I ask, whose boot am I licking? Because you're telling me as a white person that me as a black person that I'm licking your boot because I don't think in this box that you want me to frame my mentality in.
Wow, that's a powerful thing. That's a powerful thing. I remember I watched this interview with a black coach in the NFL, and this one reporter just could not get past the fact that he was a black man.
You and Mike Tomlin are two of the few black head coaches in the league. I wonder what your relationship is like with them and your thoughts on Steve Wilkes joining that fold.
I have a very good relationship with Tomlin. We don't look at what color we are when we coach against each other. We just know each other. I have a lot of very good white friends that coach in this league as well, and I don't think it's a big deal as far as us being coaching against each other. I think it's normal. Wilkes got an opportunity to do a good job. Hopefully he does it. And we coach ball. We don't look at color.
But you also understand that representation matters too, right? And that when young aspiring coaches or even football players, they see you guys, you know, they see someone that looks like them, maybe grew up like them, that has to mean something.
Well, when you say you see you guys and look like them and grow up like them, it means that we're oddballs to begin with. And I think the minute you guys stop making a big deal about it, everybody else will as well.
She just wanted to keep talking to him about what it's like being black. That would absolutely drive me insane. Like, I feel like there's no, like, let me discredit all of your achievements and just ask you about what it's like to be a black man. How do you survive the plight? How do you survive the instrumental racism that wants to make sure that you fail at what you're doing?
And that to me is real racism, and that's what we need to stop allowing to happen to us. Because
if I look at you and I look past your achievements and just want to talk to you about being black, that is true racism. That means that I can't see you for who you are. I can only see you for what you look like. That is pure racism right there, by this very definition of the word.
Black people are so quick now to not branch out and to have new ways of thinking, or to go into careers like agriculture and these other career paths that black people don't typically get into. It's not because of racism stopping them from getting in there. It's because we're told for so long that you have to follow this path and you have to think a certain way.
I think America is a great place for a black person. I think I'm an American. Anything that's available to you is available to me and mine.
I've
well said,
never
Renee. Well said.
White people having way more privileges than me. Like, I'm sure you could find certain institutions where black people are treated differently. But
yeah, maybe like the KKK. That's the only one I could really think of. Here's a good example. I work in a bar that is predominantly half white, half black. You've got very blue-collar white folks, and you have blue-collar black folks. There's never a fight. There's never a fight. We all debate sports. We have a million different conversations. Not one person treats someone differently, and I feel like that's much more on par for what actually goes on in the day-to-day than, say, you know, someone being racist. Could there be a racist guy in there? Sure. I'm sure that there could be a racist black person there too, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't really affect the day-to-day. Everybody is very kind to each other. It doesn't stop people from being nice.
in general, I don't think that I've missed out on anything because of being black. And if anything, it's given me more of a voice because people will want to hear what I say now because I'm black.
That's a very good point. People are much more open to listen to a perspective of that nature. Like this is a good way to go back to my trans debate that I covered. I feel like people were more interested in hearing what I had to say because I'm a straight white man. I don't, and looking around YouTube, I clearly saw, black trans man reacts to, white trans man reacts to, trans reacts to trans. It's everybody hearing different perspectives is a good thing in my opinion, and I feel like most perspectives would probably align.
So if anything, I have more of a platform now just on the basis of being a black conservative and saying what's not popular than I would if I was just a white person who was also conservative.
There's a lot of amazing African Americans in the conservative space. Some of my favorite personalities are black in the conservative space. Amala Antonobi, for instance, black female. I think she's actually mixed, but still, from the outside looking in, she looks like a black woman. Incredibly talented, has a lot of really insightful things to say. Also, there's another guy, I think his channel is just black conservative, but in his thing he says, get a black conservative perspective, but he actually has a lot of really great takes too.
Agree with the Supreme Court's decision to end affirmative action?
Yeah, I 100% agree with this as well, because first off, how many times are black students getting to school coming from an inner city where they might be a straight A student, but the curriculum is not as intense as, say, Harvard, and they end up washing out anyway, except now they're just super in debt because they got washed out of school early. I feel like it should be up to each school. If they want to do some kind of affirmative action, then sure. But you know who this hurts? This hurts Asian kids who are all like incredibly smart, which I don't know what's going on over there. How are all these Chinese and Asian folks so smart? What are you guys out? Is it that noodles? Is it the noodles? It's got to be the noodles. Is it the rice? Or is maybe your parents' expectations? Yeah, it's the parents' expectations. Honestly, I saw a story about a guy who was rejected from 17 different schools because he was Asian, because there's just so many of them that want to go to college. Honestly, what it comes down to is your grades should be what get you into school, and maybe your extracurriculars. I never went to college, so I don't know. Can't you tell by the way I talk? That's why I make funnies, because I'm not smart enough to make really good sense. It should be pretty good, though. It should be pretty good.
I'm not going to start. Someone else can start. Sorry.
That's like the most adorable thing ever. She's like, I don't want to start. I'm sitting next to Destiny. I bet you wonder if Destiny tried to get her number afterwards. Is Destiny single? That's something we need to look up.
I think affirmative action has served its purpose. I think that it was necessary for a particular time. And I think that every black person knows how to get into college. You can pull out the names, the Oprah, President Obama. You can pull out the head of Time Warner was black man, the Forbes was black man. We know what to do now. We don't need affirmative action anymore. And to me, affirmative action is offensive sometimes, especially nowadays, because
sure is. It's like, you're not smart enough to get into this school. Let's do you a favor. You're going to be in school literally looking around, and if you're a young black woman who just got to Harvard, right? Do you think everybody's looking at you being like, oh, this girl must be really smart, she got into Harvard? Or do you think they're thinking to themselves, affirmative action, you're watering down people's success? And I just don't think that's right. Let's keep going. I like this, Renee. I like her a lot.
2 boys, 4 girls, and all of them went to Harvard and Columbia, and this one and that one. And it breaks my heart to think that they accomplished that goal of getting into these institutions just because of the color of their skin.
I can definitely say that it creates a lot of tension.
Right, just like what I said. You're just watering down people's success because of affirmative action. I'm happy that Destiny sat down here, because it shows me that he's still being level-headed during this conversation. I mean, by the very nature, affirmative action is racist. It's the most racist policy we have. You get into school if you look like this. Oh, yeah.
When you have affirmative action, I remember my first week at the University of Illinois, I was sitting with some classmates, and a white student turned to me and jokingly like, hey, Xavier, like, did you just attach a smiley face when you applied for this college? And I started asking what he meant, and he said to me that he was like, you're black, I'm assuming you had decent grades. You could have just attached a smiley face and you would have gotten into the university.
I would punch someone in the face if they said some dumb shit like that to me.
So I was livid by that, and I went off and started
Rightfully
naming all my
so.
accomplishments, and I felt so confident only for about an hour. Because then an hour later, I started saying to myself, like, wow, like, did I actually earn my way in here? I started to have this insecurity, and I started wondering to myself, did I earn this position myself, or did my ancestors' suffering earn this for me?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a real good point. They call that imposter syndrome, where you feel like you don't belong where you are.
And too, I've seen it in the sense of like affirmative action taking away from other people who are minorities.
Ooh, Solina. Go ahead, Solina. Solina. I don't know. I'm done. I got nothing. I just wanted to say that.
It's like I had a friend who was Asian and in high school, and he really wanted to go to MIT. That was his dream school.
Good luck. MIT's like no Asians allowed, because you would just take up all of that school. Too smart.
He interned there. He was super like prepared to go there, and he didn't get in. And you can only assume that it was because of affirmative action, because they have such a large Asian population that they want to admit other people.
Yeah, I was going to actually argue that it's more racist nowadays because it excludes so many Asian Americans from getting into universities who do.
Well, these people are making some sense here. This is not like the trans debate. This is definitely a lot more logical people having a conversation, but it doesn't make it as funny for me, because now I can't make fun of people because everybody's so darn smart. Get up there. there, Alec. We need to make fun of someone.
Deserve a spot, and they can't get in because of affirmative action, which again, like you were saying, was necessary at the time.
Yeah.
But now it's like anybody, if you have the skills to do it and you're in America, you can get in.
I don't think affirmative action is the worst thing, considering all the different types or aspects of a background you might take into account when somebody's getting into college, whether they were in certain clubs, you know, Boy Scouts, what type of classes they took. That might not be available to everybody. I don't think that.
I love Destiny's wearing his own shirt. Let me wear my own shirt to Jubilee.
Factoring in the affirmative action is necessary.
Got to get that clout, though. You know what I'm saying? Got to get that. Gotta get that clout. Destiny's got plenty of clout.
A bad thing, but I feel like because of everything you guys have said, the optics behind it are so horrible today.
You know who I'd love to see on here? Hassan Piker. Well, it's just like, you know, like, it's just not right, man. Like, why should I be able to go get into his school and you're not? Like, it's just like, bro, don't tell me I'm wrong. Don't tell me I'm wrong, man. You know it, bro. You know it. You know in your heart it's real. That's my Hassan Piker invitation.
That even if it is slightly beneficial in the long run for certain people, I think we can probably refocus most of that into figuring out like the class that people come from, the neighborhoods, the backgrounds or whatever, without it having to necessarily target race. The only thing that I kind of...
That's actually a good point by Destiny. I mean, this is why I like Destiny. I mean, you could have a version of affirmative action by looking at the, you know, the income ratios between the regions that you're coming from. And that would be a much more legitimate, fair solution. It would only look at someone's financial situation as opposed to what they look like, which is how it should be. Content and character versus what someone looks like. Martin Luther King.
I wonder, now that it's gone,
just reversed.
Is instead of a black person being in school thinking like, man, am I here because I'm an affirmative action pick? Is it going to be a kid that is poor or a kid that's from a different zip code?
I think we should do away with all of it. It's just like submit an application, no demographics. Why do they ask your sexuality? Like, why do they ask all that stuff?
That's true. It's like, do I need a certain amount of gay people in this school? Well, we have to have some people for the other gay kids to date, right? I don't know. I think it's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. Here he comes to save the day. Alec, the racist liberal.
So,
what was that sitting down? Did he throw his back out sitting in them stools?
Affirmative action accomplished its purpose. Why do we still see the disparities that we do in the professional workplace? If you average...
What are you talking about? I worked at a company one time where I was... this was like a Fortune 500 company, and I was literally the only white guy there. It was all black women and me. A couple white girls sprinkled in, but it was... I have a video of us having a outdoor barbecue festival kind of thing, and we were doing that Cupid Shuffle song, and it was just me, this big, tall, white tree, and this, you know, forest of black girls. It was pretty funny. But anyway, like, I don't... You might see that in certain companies, but in other companies like mine, you know, like, it was probably a majority of black folks. You know, I don't know what disparage he's talking about. I work at a university, as I said, and you know, there's just as many black, Latino, Asian, everybody's mixed in there. There's not one more than the other. Granted, it's a university. Universities are known to be woke, so they might have a quota. But even if so, that's still unfair. If they have a quota of certain people they need to, like, diversity hires, that's not fair. You should just be hired by your qualifications and how good you are at doing an interview.
White wealth and compare it to black wealth totals. White people as a whole have about 50 times.
Let's see, they're fact checking them. All right, it says in the United States, the average black and Hispanic or Latino household earn about half as much as the average white household, and own only about 15 to 20% as much as net wealth. I don't know. That's from the Federal Reserve. So, but I think that's probably taking into consideration middle class for the most part. I think middle class has a lot to do with that number.
Than black people as a whole, per capita. So I just don't understand why you think affirmative action has accomplished its purpose. I don't see that.
Curious. Why do you assume that just because there is a disparity means it's because of a racial issue?
Ooh.
What else would it be?
Oh my God. You know what he's going to say right here, right, folks? He's going to say, what else could it be from? It has to be because you're black. What else could it possibly be? This message was brought to you by Pfizer. Now, Alec would probably be... He'd probably be down for that Pfizer sponsorship, you know what I'm saying? But that's probably the most racist thing he said so far. What else could it be from? It has to be because you're black. It has nothing to do with the fact that you have no resources in your area or that you're inner city. And inner city profits and inner city budgets are a lot harder to maintain and balance than, say, like a small suburban school.
I mean...
upbringing, economic abilities,
desire
skills.
to go, desire to...
I mean, zip code does play a lot if you grow up in...
Plus, how many African Americans might not be on the books, you know, not reporting that taxes because they don't want good old Uncle Sam coming to take that money. That's all I'm pointing out. Like, just because it's reported, I would be more interested in wondering how they're getting these reports than I would be the actual results, because I mean, they are the minorities, so it would make sense that they wouldn't make as much, because, you know, if we're counting illegal immigrants or people who don't report their income, then clearly, you know, that would skew the results a lot.
A neighborhood that experiences a lot of trauma, you're not as likely to do as well in school, which means you're...
Why did they grow up in a neighborhood that experiences a lot of trauma?
I mean, lots of people do.
Yes, but why specifically do more black people?
I don't know what he's trying to get at here. Is he trying to say like gang violence or something has something to do with it? Just look at the face on this guy. He looks so like he's disgusted. Dude, there's no way this guy's not racist. No way.
Government assistance programs.
Government assistance programs, like what?
Try red line.
See, that's his tactic, Alec, is just to keep questioning people with no real follow through. I can sit here and question you all day. It doesn't make me right. Doesn't make my point right. You know, all I gotta do is say why. You'll run out of answers eventually, or you'll punch me in the face, whatever happens first. So just because you question everybody, Alec, doesn't make you right, dude.
I mean, you can go into that if you'd like to, but let's take a look at the Great Societies Act, which was created to kick black fathers out of the home and get black mothers on welfare assistance. These things aren't beneficial for economics. These things aren't beneficial for actually paving a way for success for black children and black families. I mean, reducing a 2-family household to a 1-family household.
So Lena got that lean back going.
Isn't going to make them the richest man in the world. It isn't even going to get them out of high school. Nonetheless, the ability to even get to college.
You mean two-parent?
The child, yes, but a 2-parent household in comparison to a 1-parent household, that child is not going to be nearly as successful. That child is more disposed to being sent into prison by doing crimes or not doing very well in school. So how are they even supposed to get that, that wealth disparity shrunk if they aren't even able to get out of the community that is causing these problems for them?
Something I think that this conversation illustrates is that, like, affirmative action is literally the very end of the line of a lot of different parts of a person's life. And by that point, trying to rectify all of the inequities that have existed, to try to remedy any of that at the very end with affirmative action, it might just be too broad a brush. And maybe we'd be better served focusing on the earlier issues than trying to throw a kid who maybe, can barely read at a 6th grade level into a college to hope that that's the thing that fixes the problem at the end of the line.
Ding, 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 ding. Destiny for the win. That was my earlier point about you can give them all the scholarships you want, but if they're reading at a 6th grade level and they get to college, they're going to struggle. And then they're going to be in debt too when they leave. Unless that's the big thing that the universities are going for, is trying to get those loans from people they know are going to flunk out.
I think affirmative action wasn't really supposed to like send kids to Harvard that weren't prepared to go to Harvard. I think that's quite a myth, in fact. I think those...
But how? I'm sure it wasn't designed to do that, but it's definitely 100% doing that. If you think that someone who's coming from an inner city is going to be able to get the resources they need to be able to compete with people who came from, like, private schools, I mean, you're surely mistaken, sir.
Things ended up changing. It morphed into something else. So what started out as a good program of giving all black people or people with a lesser chance or lesser opportunity, it started out as that, and then it morphed and I'm not sure who morphed it, but it morphed into, okay, so now we have to have one black, one Hispanic, one this, one that.
That's not how that works.
But hey, talk to the corporations, talk to the people.
That's exactly how that works. If you're going for diversity hires, you need one of each. I mean, that's exactly what diversity is. It's diverse. If you have 4 people who are black and 1 person who is white working it, you don't have equal diversity.
Who hire. Talk to the board members who say we need to have a woman on the board, we need to have a black on the board, we need to have a Latina, a Latinx,
right there,
whatever,
thank you, Renee. Backing up my point. You're so smart.
From helping us into now
tokenization.
Yes. So you have to have one of this, one of that.
Well, when you start with a country where people only hire you if you're white, that's necessary.
Everywhere I've ever worked, there's always been just as many African Americans there as there are white folks. So I feel like Alec is trying to paint a picture that he sees on the media news that doesn't quite exist in reality. Maybe where he is a predominantly white area. It sounds like he might have come from like a farm town or something like that. He got a little bit of a southern drawl there.
And I know that you said that it started good and then ended whatever. And I don't think that affirmative action was perfect by any measure. But we still see really, really bad inequality. So if you're going to get rid of affirmative...
Not that bad inequality, Alec. I'd like to hear some examples of where his inequality is. That's That's what I want to ask him about, like, where is the inequality that you're seeing?
Action, what's the replacement?
Meritocracy.
There's no meritocracy in
Yes,
this
it
country. You look at Elon Musk, he's destroying Twitter. There's no
Oh, that tells you everything you need to know about Alec. He doesn't believe in American fundamentals. Literally, Elon Musk took over Twitter so that he could reestablish the First Amendment on a platform that was designed to be a town square. Right there, it tells you everything you need to know about Alex and his perceptions on conservatives.
no meritocracy. That's ridiculous.
Well, first thing I want to
He's very condescending, by the way. He's very condescending.
bounce back to is it's not a myth that there are like minorities that are being put into colleges that they're not ready for. If you look at a lot of these top universities, including Harvard, Yale, etc., you're going to see a lot of minorities on academic probation because they are being placed in universities that they are not ready for. They are not cut out for that just yet.
And this goes back to the question I asked. Do universities like affirmative action because they know that those kids are going to take out those student loans and then not necessarily be able to finish their degree, and then they'll still get that money without having to give out that diploma or degree? You know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense to you? I mean, the university business is big business. Like, let's not get that twisted, all right? Each kid spends, I don't know, I've never went to college, but it has to be at least around $100,000 at minimal to get your 4-year degree. That's a lot of money. So it would make sense that they would want that predatory lending. Plus, say you give a student loan to someone who doesn't have a great credit score, you could up that interest rate greatly, and that person will never be able to get out from under that. Things that make you go,
And it even just makes sense if you look at how much they have to achieve in order to get there. Asian students on average have to score 450 points higher than a black student in order to get in the same university.
That's
So if you think of
ridiculous.
the university
Not the point, but the fact that that exists.
that have courses, etc., that grade on a curve, you can only have so many people with an A, so many people with a B, etc. So that means that the bottom percentile is going to fail. Who is most likely, just based on logic, going to be the ones failing? It's going to be the people who didn't have the credentials to get there in the first place. And then I have to bounce back to.
I want to get
Yeah, before you counteract my point, I'd like to interrupt you again.
you on that point, because I would posit that the people who are least likely to have good outcomes in an academic setting are those who have to work 2 jobs, are those who have to drive there from home because they can't afford a dorm, are those who have to go into crippling financial debt. These are the.
That's actually not true. My university has low income housing for students. Like, if they can't pay for their apartment, the school will provide them with scholarships for living situations. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about, Alec, with your stupid shirt
and have other stresses.
Even dumber hat. Hunter Biden 2024. This is a very productive hat, isn't it? People are gonna hate this. Those conservatives are gonna hate this hat, man.
In their life, they can't afford a doctor, they can't afford a dentist, they can't afford.
Most people can't afford doctors or dentists. Most middle class people can't afford doctors and dentists. That's an irrelevant point.
Anything.
I had to do
So
that too, though.
those are the
That's
people.
not just black people. It's not just.
But it's
If we're looking at
overwhelmingly.
straight numbers, there are more white people.
He's like, stop it, Celine. You're supposed to be on my team. I liked you. I thought you looked good in that outfit. Now I'm taking it back. You don't like me. You don't like me. You're not my friend anymore, Celine. You traitor.
In poverty than black people.
If you look at the raw numbers, but if you
I don't know,
actually
what are the
understand
wrong
what you're talking
numbers?
about.
No
The
number
issue
is
is poverty
wrong.
in general, though. I don't think it's like who's in poverty. It's like poverty sucks. It
Maybe we
shouldn't
should
Yeah.
make
matter
college
who's in it.
free, and maybe we want to have affirmative.
Yeah, the problem with making college free is it's not free. There's no such thing as free, all right? Yeah, you might be able to get in, but guess what? You're going to be paying for it on the back end with your taxes. I'm just saying, there's like the government doesn't make, I mean, the government makes plenty of money, but they should be, before they ever make college free, they should be making more programs to help people who are struggling. First and foremost, veterans. Veterans need to be taken care of way better than they are. So before we ever make college free, let's focus on giving money to those people first. Every soldier who's ever served for our country deserves to be comfortable after that.
It actually wouldn't be that necessary.
It'll get even more ghetto.
If you have a program that says if you are under a certain income level.
Alex was like, I'm trying to be serious here, guys. Don't you understand? You're in trouble. You're in so much trouble. Oh, you black people. I'm just trying to help you.
Well, this is how we'll help you. That will overwhelmingly help black people at a far greater percentage than it will help white people.
Trump supports Black lives.
I think he does. Well, actually, black lives live in America, right? So I think that Trump supports anybody who lives in America because Trump supports Americans. Been what he's run on since day one. You know, he supports Americans. If we're going to sit here and say that black people are not Americans, well, then you could just go and suck it. Suck it hard. Look at that. The only black folks coming up to support the Trump. Trump fella. I think Trump supports himself. Is Alec really coming up to this? I would not have expected
I think that
that.
President Trump supports all lives. I think that he looks at all American citizens as equal. I don't see him doing anything that
Well
would
said,
make me
Xavier.
feel like
Well
he
said.
does not support Black lives. That's of course going to lead into the conversation of Black Lives Matter, which was a movement and an organization with so much corruption.
As, in case you guys don't know, I went over this in my video about how I became a conservative in the first place, and one of the things that Black Lives Matter leaders did was take all those donations and run as fast as they could out the door, and then went and bought mansions, and then were basically like, okay, good luck, guys, we got what we needed.
Supporting that organization doesn't mean that he doesn't support Black lives. It just means that he doesn't support the fraudulent organization that's stealing so much money from so many people to do absolutely nothing with it, nor does he support a destructive movement that is destroying cities, communities, lives, etc. So I don't see why someone would think that President Trump doesn't support Black lives.
Yeah, I'll tell you why, because of CNN.
He knows all the
CNN
best
says
black
it.
people. He has all the best black friends. I do support black people all the time. So sorry, that was a very bad impression, but I don't think that Donald Trump
that was a very
wants
bad impression.
bad things to happen to black people. So in that respect, I think he does support Black lives. But the other side of that is he's not really doing anything. He didn't do anything as president, certainly, to uplift black people.
The economy affects black people.
Yeah, I certainly disagree with that point. One of the biggest things I
What does he do for the
supported
economy?
personally. Well, yeah, we'll get into that one later. One of the biggest things he did is he secured permanent funding for HBCUs, one of the largest increases we ever saw for HBCUs, personally done by his administration, among many other things. The First Step Act, which, you know, there's a lot of debate about whether it was really the best thing to do, but that was definitely a kiss of love to the black race. Freeing Alice
Chandler
Johnson
knows
for
his
menial
stuff.
drug crimes she
Chandler
committed in the
knows
past that
his
had her locked
things.
up. She did not get to see her family for years.
Yeah, but that's not like, okay, I did say I agree, but I agree in the sense that Donald Trump doesn't literally want bad things to happen to black people, like I think a lot of conservatives do. So I think that
What bad things do conservatives want for black people? Like, Alex always is saying these dumbass comments without any follow-up. Like, you can't just say something like that without anything to back it up. And look at Xavier's face here.
he just says the
He's like, you did not just say that, dude. He lives in La La Land. Alec watches too much MSNBC. That's all he must watch. He must have that CNN Plus. He was like the only guy who subscribed to CNN Plus before it went under.
the most yeah, I do think that. I think he says the things that will get him elected. So I don't think that he has any personal grudges against most people. He just says the most popular thing.
How could you have a level-headed take like that, but then also have such an unlevel-headed take right next to it? It makes absolutely no sense. Like, how could you think so clearly on one object and be so terribly confused on the other? Alec is a weird fella. He's like the ninth wonder of the world right after, he's like with China, the wrestler, not the country.
So I think like Ron DeSantis would be somebody that I think actually wants black people to be hurt. So by that,
Yeah, please tell me how. Please tell me how Ron DeSantis wants to hurt black people. I guarantee you he doesn't.
that standard, yeah, Donald Trump supports black lives by leaps and bounds.
You think Donald Trump says the most popular thing?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's a good point, Xavier. He says stuff that pisses people off all the time. Do you think calling Rosie O'Donnell a pig is him saying the most popular thing? Come on, man. Come on. You're killing me, Smalls.
Yes.
Then why do so many people hate him?
He got elected as president.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He didn't win the popular vote neither time.
That's a liberal
what your
talking
side
point.
likes to say.
That's a liberal talking
I'm
point.
helping you here. I'm trying to see the logic in this. Obviously, he says things to be elected as a politician very similarly to how Joe Biden did, except Joe Biden actually has a history of racism.
He does. If you ever go watch him interrogate the Supreme Court justice that they talked about earlier, yeah, he drops the N-word with a hard R in that, and it's a pretty racist rant. It's amazing that didn't come up in his campaign.
If he said things that people didn't like, he wouldn't have been our president.
So you like?
That is absolutely not true. Okay, so I don't want to say it's the dumbest thing Alex has ever said because just wait. But up until this point, that's the dumbest thing he said.
Like everything that Donald Trump says, you think everything he says is popular?
I love a lot of the things he says. I think he's hilarious. When he said "big water," that was one of my favorite quotes. Big water.
My favorite thing that hang on, let's hear him say it.
Water, big water, ocean water.
My favorite thing that Trump does is he'll never take credit for an idea just in case it backfires on him. So he's like, let me tell you something. The Flamin' Hot Doritos, they tell me they're really hot. I don't know personally. I think they're fine, but that's what people tell me. People tell me they're really hot. Flaming Hot Doritos are delicious, by the way.
He has the funniest one-liners, so I love a lot of the things he says. As far as policy, he sucks, but...
I'm just shocked you're wearing a Hunter Biden hat. He likes a different kind of one line.
Oh, I know conservatives love talking about his...
No, Coke. It's different. Coke, not
Yeah, what the Alex thinks he was being slick there by talking about his wiener, his franks and beans, if you will.
Trump is less of the issue and more so the people that support him, like Die Hard. They facilitate that kind of like hate, I think, for a lot of people, not just black people, but like...
No, they do not. This is a common misconception. People who like Trump are everyday Americans. All right, there's could be a million different reasons that they like him, and it's not because they're racist. Celine, we liked you so much. Why did you have to go ahead and ruin everything? You ruined it. We'll never be together now. She's like, Celine's like spreading out to like, maybe she's worried about what her stomach might look like if she sits in the chair like upright. Destiny's sitting upward and sucking it in. Everybody's like worried about what they look like. She's like, I don't want to sit up on this chair because then I won't look as good. I need those YouTube followers. All these arguments are income arguments. They're not arguments that are directly resulted to race. And I think it's just so easy to get the two confused. And I don't know. I mean, I will say these people all are making a lot more sense than the trans debate that we watched. But for the most part, like, these people seem to be conflating the issues of income and race, mixing them up all the time.
Unless you're like super rich or whatever.
When you look at his history on racial issues, whether it's the shithole countries comment, the plethora of comments he made about Mexican people, just the comments he's made about Muslims, the idea that Trump cares at all about some particular racial minority, I think is a little bit silly. I think Trump will say whatever he needs to say to rile up his base and to get elected.
Yep, that's the meat and potatoes of it. He knows who he's speaking to, and he'll say whatever he needs to.
I supported Trump because
obviously true.
He made the economy good, and so the economy then impacted black people, white people, Latino people. It impacted everybody. But Trump, he didn't think specifically, I don't think, about black people. He thought about himself, and he thought about how can I make America great for me, and making him, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go with this guy, and the reason I'm gonna go with this guy is because if he can make America great and he can make that it rise for everybody, I'm gonna benefit from that. So that's why I went, and that's why I voted for him. That's why I supported him.
Well, Renee out here just dropping straight up truth bombs over here. She's not wrong. The economy was in much better shape under him than it was under Biden, and if everybody's doing well, then ba-bam.
Does that specifically benefit black people? Again, he's a businessman, but he's also a racist businessman. Like, well,
again, though, they have offered no evidence of racism. I mean, yeah, he says some things about Mexican folks. Like, if he's racist against anybody, it's against the Latinos, I guess. But I don't even think that's true. I think he just doesn't like illegal immigrants, and he knows where they all come from. They all come from Mexico. And I think that's the problem.
Well documented, so like I just
and Biden's not. Biden's not.
Yeah, I dare you to say he's not.
Yes, he is. He created the crime bill. So that's
okay. So then there you go. Then, you know, what are we even arguing about? They're both racist. So, you know, who cares? Move on to the next question.
That's regardless of the point.
Address the Central Park 5. That's what you brought up, right? Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Well,
he took
actually,
a full page out after they were exonerated.
So I haven't
he wanted them to be killed, executed, just because they were black.
That story.
I don't know if he wanted them. I don't know much about this. I don't want to comment on it. I don't feel like I know enough about the Central Park 5 to really to make any kind of comment that would be relevant or something that I would feel strong about.
And he bars people from attending his businesses or like renting apartments from all his like stupid Trump towers.
I think Trump at that point was, like many people in this room, particularly liberals, a victim of the media. I think he was scared. I think he was ashamed of the things that he heard in the news and wanted to take action himself as a businessman, not as a racist.
Why are you infantilizing him?
I don't like, also real quick, because people keep bringing up this comparison to the '93 crime bill from Biden. That crime bill, this was at the height of like violent crime and the crack epidemic in the United States. The Congressional Black Caucus supported that crime bill. Everybody in the United States supported that crime bill. The idea that crime bill was like some racist piece of legislation.
Well, here's why you're wrong, Destiny, because Who did crack majorly affect? It affected black communities. So that's why people view the crime bill as racist, because he knew who was using it and then was way harsher on people who were doing crack cocaine than he was on people who were caught with, say, cocaine.
That Biden was just wheeling out because he hates black people, and that's somehow comparable to the Donald Trump's treatment of the Central Park Five that were already exonerated. That wasn't a victim of the media. The media said they were done. They were exonerated in court. They weren't there.
As I understand it, the prosecutor of the five, he was a black guy, and so in being a black guy, he went and he looked at all the evidence and said these guys are guilty.
Black people can also be racist against other black people.
Or just make
black people could be racist against other black people. I'm sure that's true. I'm sure I could be racist. I'm racist against you, Alex. How about that? How you like that, huh? I'm not really racist against Alec. I'm just saying. I'm not, I don't think that racism should exist in any form whatsoever, and I'm going to have to say it again and again and again and again and again. I do not believe racism helps anybody.
Disagree with in regards to the Central Park Five, even if they themselves are a black person, they're just a self-loathing black person, they're just a racist black person.
If they disagree with me, they're racist.
That prosecutor was doing his job.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
One more time for the people.
If they disagree with me, they're racist. That
prosecutor was doing his job.
If they disagree with me, they're racist. That is Alex's stand. That's his moral high ground. So he's basically saying that all of these people sitting across from him are racist, but he's not. But just wait, because he's going to get very, very racist very soon.
That's my policy. If they disagree with me, they're racist.
I like that.
I think
How completely woke of you, Alex. How completely woke.
I think Trump has shown a history of ignorant at best and racist at worst behavior.
Actually, I want to go back to what Alex said real quick, because I just want to point out that everything that is wrong with the woke Democratic Party is what Alex just said right there. If they disagree with me, they're racist. There's no nuance for discussion in between. And that is how we found ourselves in this crap hole of identity politics that we're in right now.
I didn't vote for him or Hillary because I just don't see him as a conservative hero. I don't even think he's a conservative.
Fake conservative. I voted Trump in 2016, just so you all know.
Then where did it all go wrong? I will say, in 2016, I voted for Bernie in the pre-elections, and then my buddy Donnie at the time, we're not friends anymore, but he hates me. It's a different story. But he wanted to vote for Trump, but I was a Republican and he was a Democrat. I was registered Republican because that's just how it was in my town. If you ever want to build an addition or something, you needed to be a registered Republican. Story for a different day. But we traded votes. I said, okay, you go into your booth, you vote, give my vote for Trump, and I'll go into the booth and I'll vote for Bernie. Fast forward to today, we have completely switched back. So now I would have voted for Trump and he would have voted for Bernie. It's funny how things work out like that, isn't it?
So, I'm just saying.
So
I don't know what that point had to do with anything, though, Alec. I don't see what you voting for Trump had to do with. You already said that you think he's just funny, but now all of a sudden he's racist or whatever.
These things to rile up his base. Why does he need to do that at the expense of black people then?
He doesn't do that at the. I am a member of his base, and I'm sitting there like, oh man, this is amazing. And I don't know. You can call me self-loathing, you can call me self-hating,
so you're
you can call
saying
me
calling
racist.
for the public execution of 5 black men that were exonerated to
when
rile
has he
up
done
his
that
base?
during the campaign trail? He didn't do that when he was a politician.
Well,
he did
again,
that when he was a scared businessman in New York.
It's
feeling
everything
bad.
Steve said about the comments about Muslims, the comments about Mexican immigrants. Why does
never about Mexican immigrants, never about Muslims, about terrorists and about criminals and rapists.
That's true. I mean, Chandler's just whooping up on Jacob right here.
These are very important delineations to make, and if you believe
I
that
think
what
you
you fed the media
understand,
about,
or
oh, it's all
I think
Mexican immigrants, I think it's more of you
Oh, here goes the, you don't know what's good for you.
being, oh man, these poor Mexicans, they need to be supported. It's more of that savior complex.
It is.
Wow,
What was the
we're
rationale
saviors.
behind axing or trying to axe DACA? These people were registered with the federal government, they were in school, they were doing everything that they needed to do. They had no home elsewhere. They were brought into this country as minors. Like, what's the explanation for that?
I think that requires more nuance. Like I mentioned before, I think there were some
for their
people.
education.
I think
Why
there
would
were
you
some
wanna kick
people
them out?
feeding him bad policy advice, thinking, "Oh, this will be really good for your base," and he's doing a lot as a
just
president.
infantilizing
That's okay.
him.
That's okay if we feel that way. But
So,
at the end
if I take responsibility for something, if I say he has responsibility for something, well then you're right. But if I'm saying, well, maybe there are some people around him advising him falsely,
the devil's giving him amnesty.
True.
That's terrible.
No,
I think Reagan was a wonderful American, and I feel like this guy is just an absolute idiot. What was his name, Josh? Or something like that? What's with your hair, bro? What's with your hair? You look like you just stuck your finger in an outlet and was like.
That's bass. Thank you.
That's bass, bro. That's so bass, bro. Bro, you really own them, man. You own them.
Ninth circle, baby.
My political beliefs have
I bet you Alec went and gave him a hand job after this.
changed.
Allegedly gave him a hand job. I'm sorry.
From the
What was it? My political beliefs have changed from the past. I did a whole video on this. I don't even need to comment on it. If you guys want to, I'll drop the link in the description. But if you want to go find out how I changed my whole political life, and go watch that video. But yeah, I used to be a liberal. Now I'm a conservative. Well, I'm still a moderate conservative. I wouldn't say I'm hardcore. I'm just I lean right. I try to approach everything.
I grew up in a conservative household, actually, in Ohio. And my parents were always pretty political.
So this is just rebelling against your parents then, Alec. You want to talk more about that?
So I always stayed political. I was very religious as a teenager. Sometime during college and then afterwards, especially during COVID, my sister actually indoctrinated me into a more leftist position.
So your ideas didn't form on your own? Your sister told you what to do? This explains a lot. This explains a lot about Alec.
And I overcorrected a little bit. I started becoming pretty cringy as far as sit down and let the minorities all talk, right?
Well, bro, guess what? We're gonna find out very soon that cringe did not stop. That cringe is alive and well.
Don't say anything. Don't speak over them, etc. They would, it was like the whole "you can't speak over Candace Owens, even if she's literally a Nazi" kind of thing.
How can Candace Owens be a Nazi? Like again, here we go. People throwing around the word Nazi. You're a Nazi. You're a Nazi. You're a Nazi. You're a Nazi. Everybody's a Nazi. Everybody disagrees with me. Grow up, Alec.
So, I
look, everybody's just rolling her.
So, yeah, I kind of leveled out.
Yeah, you don't joke about Nazis, bro. You don't joke about Nazis.
Thankfully, and I'm less cringe now.
Did you?
Yeah, he's like, I don't know, bro. I think this is who you truly are.
You? I cringed.
This is leveled out. Imagine if we would have been here a year ago.
I mean, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Even Destiny's been getting in on Alec's fun. Like, this guy is a joke, straight joke. And it's going to get worse. By the end of this, you guys are going to hate this guy.
Maybe I am being cringe. Who cares?
The black people across from you who find what you say very offensive, that's who cares.
I grew up conservative, but I did have more left-leaning ideas about like Black Lives Matter and critical race theory, and I was watching a lot of YouTube, and I
Nothing wrong with that, girl. Welcome to my channel.
did agree that black people were oppressed and all of these different things, and that we were kind of got the short end of the stick. And during 2020, when
Obviously, I'm not saying black people were never oppressed. In the 60s and Jim Crow, all that stuff, horrible. Desegregation, horrible. All right? But we're talking about what's going on now, today, and I don't feel like it's no longer the case.
And there was, everything crazy was happening, and I started organizing rallies against the mandates because I thought that they were just totally unconstitutional and un-American.
And they are.
And then George Floyd dies, and initially I was like enraged like everybody else, and then it started to become this weird political agenda masquerading behind his face.
Yeah, George Floyd was a criminal, so, just remember that. Did he deserve to die? Absolutely not. But, it's up in the air whether or not he was this outstanding citizen that the BLM claims he is.
The face of what was actually happening started to peel off, and I was like, oh, I would counter-protest BLM activists at my town square when I lived in Texas, and they were
The balls for her. Good for you, girl. Good for you. Way to stand up for your beliefs.
some of the most just bitter, vile, horrible people you could ever meet. Meanwhile, the Confederate group that would protest there against.
I will say when BLM came to my neighborhood, most of the people there were actually incredibly kind and friendly and thought they were doing really well, and it was mostly white people who walked, which I thought was funny, except for the leader. He was insufferable. I could not stand the leader of the local BLM movement in my area.
Them also. They were like the nicest people ever to me, ironically.
I grew up in a democratic, not a democratic house.
Most conservatives have old-fashioned values, which means that they're very respectful people. So you're broken down on the side of the road, guess what? You're 10 times more likely to have a conservative stop to help you change your tire than you are a liberal.
But kind of apolitical, but
Plus, they don't even know how to change a tire, so. That's a joke. Get over yourself.
everybody was Democrat. And then I got a job. And when I got a job and I saw all the taxes come out and I started looking to the left and to the right and going, oh, my money's whittling away over here. And I said, you know what? After Reagan, I'm just going to go ahead and declare myself a Republican. And I've been a Republican ever since.
My mom.
Good for her. Like, Renee, I really feels like the one person in this whole entire conversation who's just your everyday citizen here. She's the only person I can tell. Everybody else seems like they're pretty well educated, and Renee's just like, you know what? I thought Trump was just a nice man, and he made me money, so I voted for him. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. That's the important thing.
Actually, kind of similar to you, I went to a Jesuit high school. I grew up very conservative. My mom is Cuban, so ride or die Bush supporter, who is now a ride or die Trump supporter. I think the point in my life when I was the most like libertarian was probably the lowest point in my life financially. And I think it's because something that conservatives do really well is they make you feel like you can always like succeed as long as you work hard enough.
And that's true. Are you trying to say that that's not the case, Destiny? I mean, look at how successful you are, and I'm pretty sure you didn't get that from just, you know, well, you are sitting on your butt, but that's part of your job. You know, like you got up, you started, you know, getting good at video games, and then next thing you know, you're a political figure. You know, you didn't just get there with minimal effort. You got there because you worked hard, you know, so it's kind of weird to hear Destiny say this.
And that's something that progressives and liberals suck at, that you're a victim of systemic racism, you're black, so you're going to be discriminated.
Oh, he was, okay, so it sounds like he was agreeing with the point.
Discriminated against, you're a woman, so nobody's going to care about your feelings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas Republicans will tell you, listen, if you work hard, you can do whatever you want, like just as long as you're willing to put in the work. And I felt that way up to the moment where I was losing my house, where I had an ex-girlfriend that was pregnant, where I had been fired from my previous job. There was a whole bunch of horrible stuff going on in my life, and I very, very luckily got into online content creation. And from there, as I started to make more money, I started to pay more taxes. When I get older and I look at taxes that come out of my paycheck, I care a little bit, but it was just so funny to me that back when I was making $15,000, $20,000 a year, I'm like, I gotta vote for the lower tax bracket, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm barely paying any taxes anyways. And you know, now that I'm older, like if the government wants to take, you know, a few, you know, 10, 20, whatever, how many more $1,000 out.
Yeah, but Destiny, you're a huge online celebrity. You think Renee's got the money you got? I doubt it. She doesn't seem like she's the one sitting down being a content creator. And look, hopefully what Renee is going to say to him right now is, yeah, but look what you just did. You did achieve that from hard work. You proved that you could do whatever you put your mind to. I hope that that's what she's about to just say to him.
I did, but I got very, very, very lucky doing so. Very lucky.
How did you get very lucky? You were very good at a game. I forget which game it was, but I know I've seen videos on Destiny before, and you know, you're a talented debater. Like, I wouldn't want to debate Destiny. Actually, I would love to, but I got to become prepared because Destiny's very good at talking, and I need all these edits to organize my thoughts.
It's not just luck, but the difference is that born into a wealthier family, you can make so many more mistakes in life. And when you're born poor, you get like one or two before your life is over. And that's really sad to me.
Yeah, so
well, it depends on what those mistakes are. If it's like murder, you know, it shouldn't matter how much money you got, Destiny. I mean, he's not wrong. You know, like look at Hunter Biden. He didn't get in any trouble at all. And why do you think that is? Because of who the big guy is. But let's be honest, though, like Destiny, you're good at what you do, dude. You know, you work hard. Luck, I mean, granted, luck might have a little bit to do with getting attention on YouTube, which thank you, luck. Hi. But at the same time, you got to make the videos, dude. You got to do the content to get the notoriety. And I will say one thing to people who are out there thinking about taking on this whole YouTube thing. Keep making content. Keep making content. That's all I could say to you. Just keep doing it. All right? If you stop, it's whatever. You're not going to succeed. You can't be a YouTuber without posting to YouTube. That's all I'm going to say. Eventually, you're going to find people who like watching what you do. You guys, thank you for watching what I do. I love you for it. Secondly, don't give up on yourself. And definitely do not adopt the victim mentality because that is just an express lane to blaming everybody else for why you're not where you need to be. And that's no way to live. I used to do that. When I was in my drug addiction, I used to be like, oh, it's everybody else's fault that I lost my job. They don't understand me. And then eventually I woke up and I was like, you know what? Let me go take control of my life back. And then here I am, you know. By no means am I a successful YouTuber, but I'm starting to be able to call myself a YouTuber. And that's cool.
I used to be a liberal. I voted for Bernie Sanders in 2016, as much as I regret that now. My family was pretty left.
Me too, bro. Me too.
Wing. Some of the people in my family were like radically left, like would refer to white people as blue-eyed, red-headed devils, things of that nature.
Ooh.
And as I got older, I actually started being really outspoken
pulling dope
for
punches.
BLM. I was supposed to be on a reality show teaching people how to be a BLM activist. At the time, I did a deep...
Oh, man, he dodged a bullet there. Imagine being associated with that project forever.
dive on BLM, and I started to realize all of these lies. So then I took a step back. I'm like, okay, what else am I being lied to about? And I started looking at the Democratic Party and questioning my own loyalty to being on the left.
I personally think both sides tend to be racist in different ways.
Well, yeah, of course, everybody's racist, right? That's 2023 for you. We're all racists.
I don't think the government is on the side of the people in general. And
I'm just kidding,
that's
obviously.
Just me being a radical.
When I was young, I used to jump for joy and say, oh yeah, Obama, black president, that's so amazing. He's the same color as me. But when I started to do more research, one of the biggest things I was confused about is, well, why is he a Democrat? What is a Democrat? I did more research about the Democrat Party. And sure, you guys are going to pop off about the head saying, oh, there's a party switch in the Southern strategy and all these things.
Which is true.
Which you may
He called out Alex argument before he even did it, and Alex was like, oh, well, I guess I can't say nothing about it now. He cut my feet off.
say is true. I don't believe it is true at all.
You're
I
wrong.
understand, you may think I'm wrong.
You are.
However, one of the big
Yeah, please, by all means, lecture this black man on what it's like to be a black man. By all means, Alec, go ahead.
biggest questions I had was, why is Obama in the same party as the people that started the KKK, the same people that voted against the Civil Rights Act, the same people that are on the news talking about how black people aren't able to accomplish anything and need to be on welfare and need to be promoted with affirmative action and things of that nature?
I also, in terms of, I guess, of my political journey, I was raised conservative, actually. And then high school became, I guess, sort of apolitical. And then throughout college and I guess just throughout my life since then, I think I guess you can call me a progressive, you can call me, socialist, whatever you...
Just don't call me after midnight. All right, no, that was stupid. I hate myself.
But I guess that's, in the area of where I fall. You said that you were a Bernie fan in 2016 and then you transitioned.
Celine's got to be getting tired sitting like that. That looked so uncomfortable. Girl, just rock that. Just let your belly hang over to your pants. It's okay. We ain't gonna judge you. Do you think she sits in every chair like that, where she's just like... Sorry, my ADHD took a left turn there.
I guess, I don't know. To me, Bernie Sanders, from what he said to what you think now, what was the shift?
For me, it was socialism, because back then I was a very broke college kid and I just had this mentality that everything should be free, and I was...
Yep, that goes back to what I said in my video about me being a drug addict. That's why I was a liberal, because I was like, oh yeah, I need that free money, man. I gotta pay for my drugs. I gotta pay for my drugs, man. I ain't gonna get a job. I can't do drugs at a job, man. I need to get that good. Fast forward to today, normal people who work hard, believe in conservative ideals, because they see the hard work pays off. I don't care who you are. You work hard, it pays off. If you're not happy in your situation, try to find something that's better for you. That's the conservative way. Believe in yourself and get things done.
Are necessary.
No, for one. First off, anybody who's alive today most likely had nothing to do with what took place back there. Secondly, it would destroy our country if we played reparations. And thirdly, stupid. Freaking stupid, man. But no, in all seriousness, I don't feel like reparations would help anybody. All right, it might help people for a short period of time, but at the end of the day, it's just going to turn our country into an absolute shithole. Because you also have to figure out who would get these reparations and why. Like, how can you, like, what if you're somebody who's African American, but you didn't come here and your parents didn't come here until the 80s? You weren't here for slavery. Do you get those reparations? Plus, are people going to abuse the reparations? I mean, there's a million reasons why this is not a good idea. I'm not surprised to see Destiny standing back there. Definitely not surprised to see Alec walking up. And this other guy, I forget his name, tool bag. He looks like the Patrick Dempsey from Loverboy. Yes, you are the winner. God, if I have to hear one more lecture from a white man about what it's like to be black, I'm gonna lose my mind. I should probably say that after this, because Alec is about to show you what kind of person he really is. But yes, most white liberals have savior complexes, and it's disgusting, because black people are more than capable of getting things done, if you know what I'm saying. Why are you walking up, dude? You're about to show off your savior complex right now.
Well, I gotta say, this is a shock. I never expected all four of you to just come forward and admit it, but you know what? I'm happy with these results.
I just think it's...
I don't think Destiny's got a savior complex, because if you ever see him debate liberals, he usually schools them. But these two definitely 100% do, and Alex is run amok. He really thinks that he is Captain Save the Blacks.
a lot of, I guess.
And it makes me sad that he's wearing a one-piece shirt too, because that's a great show, and this guy's a buffoon.
People, of the left, whatever, can kind of fall into that trap of thinking that, black people as a monolith need to be saved as a whole.
I have no shame about it. I have a savior complex as an older brother, and I will save you whether you like it or not. So
That's incredibly offensive, Alec. So you're trying to treat black folks like your little brother? Like, we don't even know who your little brother is, man. Like, what if he's like a bumbling idiot? I mean, you are, so it makes sense that he would be too. They don't need your saving, dude. They got it. All right, you're gonna tell me you're gonna go save Jalen Hurts from the Philadelphia Eagles? You think Jalen Hurts needs your help? Come on, like, use your brain for a second. This gets me angry because this dude is just so dumb.
So that's just me.
Well, it's
allegedly dumb. We can't confirm that yet.
Definitely not, because a lot of us are really just exhausted of being viewed as our skin color. Because when you have this mindset that you need to save black people and we're just sitting here minding our own business, and
I think Alec thinks that being a white savior is a good thing. I think he's like, yes, I am Jesus Christ cometh down to save my fellow brother from the tyranny of the white man, when he's really the one bringing the tyranny with him.
Living our lives the way we want to. I don't know why it is that people feel this immense pressure to be so apologetic and just always trying to cater and coddle to black people when we just want to be treated like everybody else. We're equal for a reason.
And that is the meat and potatoes of it. If you really value people, treat them like a person. Don't treat them like a statistic or like there's someone who needs your help. If you feel so deeply about it, like Alec, give up your home to a black family in need. I'm just saying, like, I don't really show your savior complex.
I think especially recently with a lot of riot stuff that's gone on or protest stuff that's gone on, people on the left tend to infantilize a lot of different types of protesters, and especially even talking to, some of the other black content creators I do content with, when you hear a lot of progressives come out and say, well, they don't have a choice but to riot or break into this store, or, well, they're stealing, these electronics or shoes for good reasons, you just don't realize it. I think a lot of people kind of look both ways, and it's a little bit weird that there's such a complex on the left to excuse like every single possible negative behavior from somebody, as long as they're a skin color that you're kind of in charge of protecting.
And that is why we like Destiny, everybody. And Destiny's one of the main people. Him and Bill Maher are like some of the main people who I agree have very level-headed approaches.
I find that very offensive.
Yeah.
I find it extremely, it upsets me to hear that, because we're just like you. We just have a different skin color. And to hear that you have to help me is offensive to me. I can do it on my own.
Well, we have to break down.
Oh, great. Here we go. Look, she's like, you really have something to say to me after that? Like, she's ready to be like, I'm about to smack you, bro. Think about it. Most black families are out there doing the same thing as white families, trying to make sure there's food on their table, there's roofs over their head. You don't see anybody coming to try to save white people. Why? Because you think they can figure it out. I feel like black people should be afforded that same respect. There is nothing that tells me in our history that they are not an incredibly capable people. It makes absolutely no sense. And it's about to go off the rails here. Alec is about to really show off what kind of dumbass he is.
And sometimes
allegedly.
Why these riots happen. MLK once said that riots are the voice of the unheard. So if you...
Did Martin Luther King say that? That sounds much more like a Malcolm X quote. Martin Luther King seemed like he was the type that was all about peace, wasn't he? He was the one who was like, let's walk together, hold hands, use love to combat evil. Malcolm X was like, punch a guy in the face if he's racist towards you, which I don't disagree with either. If someone's racist towards you, they might have it coming. But Martin Luther King, I feel like for the most part, wanted everyone to do it peacefully and not to steal stuff. Because you know what, that makes everybody look bad, especially if you're trying to change a narrative.
You are to address the problem and stop the riots, you have to address the underlying inequality that has historically been pervasive. Even if you as individual people are doing fine and you don't want anybody else.
The you people. What do you mean, you people? Alec, he don't know it yet, but he's incredibly racist.
If you take pride in having like a white savior complex, what is it that you think that you're doing to save black people, and what is it that you think that you're saving black people from?
I am trying to make the world a better place through whatever means I can.
But you do.
Yeah, but you're making it worse with the attitudes that you're using, Alec. You're making the world a worse place. Telling people they're victims helps nobody. Helps absolutely nobody. Tell me a victim who feels empowered. Tell me. Because it don't happen. You can't proclaim victimhood and also be a powerful entity. It just doesn't work that way. If you're a victim, you always have a chip on your shoulder to blame someone else. Like that's just, and I'm sure Renee is about to make a really great point here, so I'm just gonna let her come back at him.
Doing it on the backs of us. I
wouldn't say so.
Yeah, I actually do. I feel like.
Yeah, I need to feel good about myself by telling me that you need help when you don't necessarily need help, but it makes me sleep well and it makes me feel like I'm right, so I don't care. You know, whatever you say, it doesn't matter to me.
Like, you want to be a savior and you're using me to make yourself feel good.
Yep, absolutely. How can you say no to that, Alec? That's exactly what you're doing, dude. You're using black folks to prop yourself up and put yourself on a pedestal. Like, there's no way that you can deny that that's exactly what you're doing here.
That's what
How
I'm
am I
hearing.
hurting you?
You're not letting me have my own voice. You're not letting me speak.
How? You're speaking now?
No,
You're cutting her off.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's keep talking over her, Alec, you buffoon.
Well, I feel like I have to.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to, because if you keep going this way, everybody's gonna hate me.
Well, what's happening? I mean, you're speaking right now. You're speaking right now in this particular setting. But what you're saying is, like, you took it back to riots and so forth, and it makes it seem like the only way that we as black people can have a voice is by riots, and then you need to come along and you need to say, okay, poor little black child, let me help you, let me help you. That's offensive to me.
What if you found out Alec was the one who's been making these for 25 cents a day? You can adopt this African child. It's actually incredibly racist. It's a racist notion to have. See, he grew up watching those videos, and he thinks that everybody's like that. That's exactly how he formed his opinion. For 25 cents a day, this young child in Africa can be fed. So Alec has the point of view that every person is like that, when Renee is clearly 10 times more intelligent than Alec is, allegedly. I say that because I don't have any proof, but actually, I do have proof. It was this whole debate. Alec is a moron. Plain and simple. Don't be like Alec at home, everybody. They don't need you to come and save them. They're good. They're fine. All right? As long as we treat everybody with respect, we should all be okay.
And I feel like you're making yourself feel good about trying to help us.
I also think that, like, when we talk about damage, I think especially when it comes to a lot of the shoplifting stuff that's going on in certain cities, you get a lot of white people that live in nice suburbs saying things like shoplifting is no big deal, that's fine, and then you'll catch YouTube videos of them later on being in a Walgreens in like a shoddy neighborhood, and they're like, man, why is the deodorant behind a locked case? It's very easy to sit behind a gated community and say, oh, well, you know, it's not a big deal, you know, they steal because they have to. Riots are the language of the unheard. I think people haven't read the full context of that quote. When MLK was saying riots were the language of the unheard, and you need to address the underlying condition, he wasn't condoning the rioting, he was just understanding it.
Obviously, there are a bunch.
And that's why we like, even though he totally destroyed my Malcolm X comment, it still makes sense. Destiny, you're a smart cookie, fella. You're a smart cookie. I will say, most conservatives do like Destiny. Most of them don't have a problem with him because I mean, for the most part, who's, you know, I don't think of a lot of things that I disagree with him on. You know, this is where I go back to saying, like, Destiny's a classic liberal. And I feel like classic liberals have a lot more in common with conservatives today than they used to, except policy, mostly policy. Go up to a black woman about to cross the street and be like, would you like to take my nice white manly arm and help me cross the street? She's gonna smack you, bro. She's gonna be like, I don't need your help. I think these people are so empty inside that they desperately need this to feel like they have a sense of purpose because they haven't found purpose in any other parts of their lives.
Tremendously love to help and make sure everyone has like equal outcome, or not equal outcome, but at least equal opportunity, which in my opinion, I feel we do not have in this.
I feel like everybody's got equal opportunity.
Country.
This is awkward.
Yeah, she was smart staying back for this one.
So I didn't step forward just because I don't want to broad brush all white liberals as having a white savior complex. I have experienced white liberals who do have that, and
yeah, obviously not all liberals have white savior complexes, like Destiny, for instance, doesn't, but I guess they're trying to say, like, the majority of them probably do, you know. At least, even just this, like, Alex has run amok, but even, like, the other guy, he seems like he has a bit of a white savior complex as well. And that's incredibly offensive. It's incredibly offensive. If someone came up to me and I was, like, doing a job and I thought I was doing really, really well, and they were like, do you need me to help you? You look like you use some help. I'd probably be like, I got this, thank you. I got this, no problem. It's insulting. It's incredibly insulting. If someone comes up to you and is like, you're solving 2 + 2 = 4, maybe I should help you with that. Like, you don't think I could figure that out for myself, son? Like, this is very basic stuff.
they're very unpleasant people. But I don't think every single white person who's a liberal or who is an activist for BLM or any of those things necessarily has a white savior complex. I think that there's a lot of white people who genuinely think that black people are oppressed, want to help, and that's what they're told.
What it seems like to me, when most people have savior complex, regardless of whom they're...
So Lean is still sitting like that. Your arms have got to be hurting, girl. Exactly, Xavier, unless you're trying to compensate for thoughts that you're having. Like, if you're having thoughts of racism in your head, maybe you're trying to compensate for that. Maybe you grew up thinking, you had having really racist takes, and then all of a sudden one day you woke up thinking, wow, I've been wrong this whole time. Maybe I should try to make up for all the racist takes I've had. It says a lot about you. It says a lot about you.
I've never seen a white person say, I personally feel guilty for slavery. Maybe they're out there, but I've never heard that.
Yeah, in second grade, when they taught us about slavery, almost every kid in my classroom would spend their entire time looking at black kids in that classroom. How was I supposed to not think, wow, these people are feeling guilty for something that they have no involvement in and I have no involvement in?
Every kid in my classroom understood the context.
People hate feeling...
For the most part, like, this is where it goes to, Alec can't relate to a black person. He just doesn't know what it's like. You figured it out. But you're also like a big fan of yourself and possibly a narcissist. I know plenty of white people who feel guilty about slavery. I mean, look at you, for instance. You're talking about paying reparations. You literally just said you felt guilty for it. You literally just went up when they said reparations need to be made. That is you having guilt. That's white guilt, bro. How do you not understand that?
Uncomfortable, and obviously you don't want to feel like the bad guy, and so I feel like it comes from a place of like, oh well, like, let me make sure that I'm different and like I'm showing you that I want to like help you, but it comes across like I think it can land very poorly.
I'll tell you.
Yes, amen, girl. It can land very, very poorly, like what's about to happen with Alec.
You what? Stop it. Stop it. Because what happens is when you put yourself as the white savior, what you do is you elevate yourself above the black person.
Yep, I love that she's staring right at Alec and being like, are you getting all this, son? You're getting all this? You're trying to tell me that you're better than me, and it's coming off like you're a douchebag.
Because you feel then like you have to save us. So just stop it. Just treat everybody regular and normal. Just like I would treat you regular and normal, you treat us regular and normal rather than trying to save us.
Yeah.
I just got one thing I wanted to bring up earlier about taxes, because you were saying that you had your job and you were talking about how like you get the tax every time and you're like seeing your tax go up. I worked in nursing homes in 2020 COVID.
Here we go, everybody. This is where he's gonna start acting like he's the moral superior.
The last thing that was on my mind when I watched 60 and 70-year-olds on their deathbeds suffocating to death.
Do you hear me, guys? I am so great. Listen to me tell you how great I am.
Was taxes. I was worried about...
Just because you yell doesn't mean you're right, Alec. Yes, most dead people don't give a crap about taxes because they're going to die. Most people don't. But guess what? Have a lot of life left. We care about them because we don't want to go to jail. Look at what happened to Wesley Snipes. Jesus. It's not a hard concept to understand.
Healthcare. I didn't give a shit about taxes in that time. So when I go...
Look at him. He's morally grandstanding. Like he must be like the belle of the ball at his liberal parties.
I go to work every day. That's what I see. That's what I want to fix.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
That's how the cookie crumbles. I wish he would say that at the end. I'd forgive everything he said if he ended up with, that's how the cookie crumbles. If you... Wait, what's that? He goes, if you know what I'm saying, brother. Or he could be like, if you smell what the Alec is cooking.
I see you once again elevating yourself above the rest of us, and particularly at me.
Yep.
A white man elevating himself above a black person.
He called me a bootlicker. He called me a bootlicker.
Oh no, I triggered them all. I'm sorry. I'm
sorry. I'm chilling.
Bro, you didn't trigger them. You're being freaking racist, dude. You're being freaking racist. How are you not picking up on this right now? How is this so elusive to you that you cannot understand what you're doing wrong? Alec, you live in a bubble in Ohio. Ohio sucks. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have a problem with Ohio. If you're from Ohio, that's cool. But if you live in Ohio and you see Alec, just walk up to him and say, Alec, you need Jesus, bro.
Yes, so what I hope comes out of this conversation is that we're all Americans, and because we're all Americans.
Yeah, but he's a white American, Renee. You don't understand. That's like he's a white American. You don't understand the plight of the white American, Renee. I'm just kidding. Obviously, there's There's no play. We're all Americans. At the end of the day, we're all Americans. We all bleed red. Look after each other. Love one another. Don't be like Alec, for the love of God. Don't be like this man.
We know that America has a bunch
He's
of
so
problems.
salty.
And I
Look
think
at him.
every person here wants to solve the problems. And I think everybody is bringing what they have to the table with their ideas on how to get us to unify. This kind of stuff, right? But
Yes, this kind of stuff, We don't with that. We just leave that at home, right? That's it. That's staying at home. That ain't coming to school with us. No way.
got something in there. Hopefully, I mean, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you have something in there that's redeeming about you that would...
We haven't found it yet, though. We haven't found it yet. Alec is a despicable human being.
Bring all of Americans together. So I hope that we end on the note of American.
Yes, please, Renee.
UNITY.
I would like to say we're all made in the image of God, and so we're all have our inerrant worth.
Yes, but Alec is the son of God. That's what you guys are failing to understand. He is Jesus Christ reenacted, and he doesn't even believe in himself.
Just because we're made in his image, and we should treat each other as fellow image bearers, not just by the color of our skin. I mean, as Martin Luther King said.
He also did not like capitalism.
I think something that...
Thank you, Alec, for contributing absolutely nothing. This moment is brought to you by Blossom. Blossom from the previous one. I don't know. What do you just study him, dude? Why don't you go date him? Why don't you go marry Martin Luther King? You love him so much. I'm just kidding. Martin Luther King and Alec is definitely not Martin Luther King's type.
That's really challenging. I've definitely been guilty in the past of throwing around the Uncle Tom word. I used to be hardcore progressive. I'm still relatively progressive. But something that I've learned as time has gone on.
Thank God, because if Destiny was a hardcore progressive, he would suck. He probably likes being right in debates so much that he was like, there's no way I could ever be right in a debate keeping these woke ideas.
Being a white person isolates you from a lot of the different types of racial struggles that people...
Oh my God, for a second, I thought that Celine had a Adam's apple. Because of the way that her necklace is coming off of her chest, it looks like she has a big Adam's apple. I was like, damn, she almost snuck one past me. I thought that was a girl the whole time. Luckily, it is a girl because her necklace is just making it. But doesn't it, if you look at it right now, doesn't it look like she has an Adam's apple?
Will go through, and those struggles can take a lot of different forms. Not just, you know, was my ancestor a slave, and not just is my culture bad, but sometimes in the way that, you know, people grow and develop, right? Like, am I actually choosing these political beliefs because they mean something to me, or is it because I'm black or my parents are black? If I speak a certain way, am I betraying my race? If I am a political orientation, am I a bootlicker? And I think that it's important when you're coming from a progressive point of view to understand that even though there are conservatives that are black people, you have to treat them as individuals and not just come at it with this, like, you're black, you're a conservative, therefore here's like 6 or 7 different slurs that I can use against you, but they're approved because I happen to be on the progressive side.
This is the...
And just like that, we end the video. Guys, granted there was a lot more rational communication taking place during this one. There was still Alec, and Alec needs help. So if you see Alec, help him out any way you can, guys. Don't let him, and whatever you do, don't let him try and save you. For the love of God, do not let that man try and save you, because he will end up making you feel worse about yourself. With that said, we're going to wrap this one up. EG Lately out. Everybody who's new here, welcome to the channel. This is awesome. You know, I'm loving all the feedback you guys are giving me. And, you know, we'll keep doing these. You know, I mean, once I cross that 1,000 subscriber mark, I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful with these videos because I don't want to be getting copyright strike. But for the most part, I feel like this was a level-headed debate. Much more level-headed than liberal trans versus liberal conservative trans. There was still a lot of moments though in this where I honestly don't know how Destiny kept his mouth shut, but I did see Destiny say though afterwards that they cut out a lot that they talked about. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this reaction video. I'm EG Lately. Please like and subscribe down below. Set the notification bell so you guys are alerted to when I'm posting again. And you guys are getting in early on this. Let's take YouTube by storm. Let's create a community where it doesn't matter if you're a liberal or you're a conservative. Like, let's just take care of each other and all be Americans or international brothers and sisters from Amsterdam, Poland, wherever you guys may be from. You know, like, at the end of the day, let's take care of one another because that is what is most important. So with that said, thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys in the next one.